Stephen King? More like Stephen. What were you thinking? Reading books. That's what I do. Some are good, some are not as good. Got a shelf? Let's make it two. I cannot wait for this review. Oh boy, today's the day. Today's the day. So I just spent 2 months reading Stephen King's It. And you know, I've seen so many Johnson hoppers on YouTube saying the book is good and Stephen King is a good writer. And they're all freaking wrong. I apologize if this literary analysis review seems a bit rushed and kind of incoherent. I just want to get this book out of the way. Because this book doesn't deserve the recognition that it has. Oh my goodness. I would be embarrassed if I were Stephen King and this was the most known piece of work that I've put out. And I wasn't optimistic going into it either. I wanted Stephen King to win me over because he has such a high regard, but he just couldn't.
Number 1, Stephen King.
I don't like this book. So, before I get into stating my critiques, I'm going to be citing the pages from this version of the book, the now major motion picture version of this book, the one you see everywhere. So let's get into the analysis and review of this book. First off, I really like the cover. It's straight to the point. Stephen King writes novels in a novel. If I were to summarize this book, I wouldn't know where to start. Obviously, it begins with the death of Georgie, who gets his arm ripped off by dancing clown Pennywise. But other than that, the story is pretty much told through the perspective of the grown-up versions of the characters. When they remember something from their childhood, that part of their childhood is portrayed in the story. So you get this constant back and forth from 1958 to 1985, and it's transitioned really weird. Like, it's cool in the beginning where, like, Stephen King will write like the whole part out and then transition mid-sentence to the next part. But if you were to put everything in chronological order, it would make absolutely no sense. It would just be blah. Here is a list of the main characters. So in 1958, the characters are about 11 to 12 years old, and they all form a friendship because they all have a common enemy, Henry Bowers, who has a habit of bullying the younger kids. Now, Henry isn't the only threat that the losers encounter. No, no, no. The losers' hometown, Derry, Maine, is the home to numerous murder cycles that occur every 28 years or so. Every 28 years or so, children go missing. Some are found dead and deceased, others just never show up at all. It's also no help that the sewer systems that run beneath Derry are a complete mystery. And slowly over the course of the story, it's revealed that these children are being killed by a shape-shifting entity that comes from outer space. It also lives in these same sewers. Ooh. In 1985, the losers return to Derry for what is referred to as the final showdown on the first page of actual plot. The losers, apart from Stan, who decides to kill himself instead, come back to Derry. They all come back, and they just really talk. They all talk about what happened. They go to a Chinese restaurant, and they talk about what happened. They order fortune cookies. Oh, scary stuff happens to the fortune cookies. They go to the library and talk about what happens. Oh yeah, and Henry Bauer comes back, and he escapes a mental ward, and he attacks Mike, and Eddie kills him. There's a huge plot twist concerning the shape-shifting monster that lives in the sewers. It's a spider, but it's also not a spider. But it's still a spider. But more importantly, the bigger twist is that it's female. And it's pregnant. Yep, that's why they all have to come back to Derry. And that's why Stan kills himself. Stan who understood. Stan who told us. That's why we have to come back. So the giant spider monster is going to give birth to some unimaginable spawn. And can you imagine what unimaginable spawn a giant spider can give birth to? If you said giant spiders give birth to giant spiders, then you might be a genius. Or you might be Stephen King, the best horror novelist ever. But that's not the only thing. The spiders can also talk to Ben in his head. I mean, that must have been really difficult for the losers to fight a whole army of telekinetic spiders. Ben definitely doesn't stomp all of them. So while Ben is stomping all these telekinetic spiders, Bill and Richie go ahead and fight the big spider, who is wounded by Eddie at this point, with their bare hands. So in 1958, when they encounter the spider for the first time, Eddie imagines that his aspirator, since he's asthmatic, can spray battery acid. And because he imagines it, I guess he can do it? I really don't know why. But when they're adults, Eddie does the same thing. He sprays it in the eye and down his throat, and in result, gets his arm bitten off. Just like Georgie! My complaint is that they don't use that tactic any other time. Eddie could have explained to the others that, oh, I've imagined this, you can imagine that. Why not? It works. So at this point, Eddie dies. Beverly stays back to watch over his dead body, and Audra, who is Bill's wife, who we'll discuss later, then goes on to stomping eggs and spiders, and Bill and Richie go to fight the big final boss with their fists. The way that they ultimately defeat the monster is that Bill uses his entire being to jump into the monster's body and claw his way to the monster's heart and squeezes it. Yep, they just squeeze. They don't even have to do anything really. They just have to physically damage the freaking beast. They could have gotten a whole mob of people just to kill it. It's nothing special. In fact, it's very underwhelming, if you ask me. It may have worked better in a book that didn't have 1,000 pages worth of build-up. Like, if you're gonna have 1,000 pages worth of build-up, have a better way to defeat your freaking monster rather than, oh, I can just beat it up. I can just jump into its body. I could have done that the whole freaking time. Oh, I could have just killed it. I could have just killed it when it was this thing, that thing, the other thing too. Like, come on. It's just lazy. It's boring. So I mentioned Bill's wife, Audra, who's also at the final showdown, but she's not one of the original 7 losers from Derry. No, Bill tells her that he's going back to Derry, Maine, and when he goes and leaves, she decides to follow him, but he doesn't know. The whole time she's in Derry, Maine, she's worried that Bill needs help. And in the end, she's scared that he's cheating on her, which he does, the piece of shit. But Beverly's abusive husband, ex-husband, it's complicated. Tom Rogan ends up kidnapping her and bringing her down to the sewers. This is where I run into a few problems with the main protagonist. Stephen King tries to write him as a sympathetic and likable character, but by the end, you just don't like him. Yeah, Bill just straight up cheats on his wife with Beverly Marsh Rogan, which I can understand Beverly's side of the relationship. At that point, she basically beats the shit out of her husband and leaves him. And now I guess she's single. That's why he comes to Derry, because, oh wow, this bitch is gonna cheat on me. Better kill her. While they're young, it's hinted that all the boys have a crush on Beverly, but the one that's most blatantly attracted to Beverly is Ben. When they're adults, before Bill takes Beverly home, he looks back at Ben, and this happens. Now I have no clue what that means. And I'm positive Ben wouldn't know either. So what is this chat on about? There's also this weird part about Beverly's breasts, and you'd think that Bill, who's often depicted as the most composed character out of the bunch throughout the book, would be smart enough to restrain himself from ruining everything he has with his wife. But he's just not. Following this, the scene that Bill cheats on Audra is a bit descriptive. I would only like to share one sentence from it, because it's just so genuinely hysterical. She became aware that this wasn't going to be just a cum. It was going to be a tactical nuke. And Bill doesn't even tell Audra about this or apologize. He just goes back to her as if nothing happened. It just puts the reader in such a weird position, such an awkward position, because since you're rooting for Bill, since he's the main character, you kind of want Audra to die and have Bill end up with Beverly. But then again, Audra is so freaking nice, loyal, compassionate for Bill, and that she follows him across the world just to be there for him. She's an actress and jeopardizes her acting career just to be with Bill, and it's so unnerving. By the way, it doesn't even freaking matter, because Beverly ends up with Ben by the end. Between each part, there are interludes where you get to read Mike's journal entries about what's going on in Derry. Like, oh wow, that happened before, that's really sketchy. Interlude 5 occurs when Mike suffers an injury from Henry Bowers. He's in the hospital. Ben and Beverly visit before they head out to Nebraska. And then this quote happens. Oh, also, grown-up Beverly could easily be my favorite character in the book, just off her introduction scene alone. Her abusive husband, Tom Rogan, whose catchphrase might as well just be, first the whoopin', then the fucking, gets his ass completely handed to him, because he's such a little boy. If you're a fan of farts, it might be the book for you. There's a lot of farts in it. I don't need to know what Richie, one of the characters, calls a fart, and I definitely don't need to know that Eddie's mom was doing it in the morning before he went to school. A lot of people who have heard stuff about the book bring up the fact that there's a space turtle, but they neglect to tell you that the space turtle, it's dead by the time the characters are grown up. So when they face the spider monster for the second time, the turtle can't help them or give them advice because it's dead. It's freaking dead. There's also a third outside force known as, well, the Other. And the only time it really contacts our characters is when Bill defeats the spider and it says, son, you did real good. And there it passes out of this tale forever. Oh, wait a minute. That's a quote regarding Georgie's boat. Wait a minute. Isn't that like the most iconic object from this freaking book? There's an Ed Gein reference. I mean, I think it'd be pretty cool if Leatherface showed up. When did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre come out? Oh, it came out a little less than 7 years before Stephen King wrote this novel, because he's so pretentious to write, I spent 4 years on this novel at the end of the book. Who cares? Who cares how long you spent on this? It was a waste of time anyway. So I'm pretty sure everybody is anticipating the sewer sex scene that involves children. All the kids in the book, obviously didn't need to be in the book. So what happens is that after they defeat the spider monster for the first time, the kids get lost in the sewer because it's so dark. Beverly's idea is to, we're not gonna find our way out unless we're together. So she strips naked and says, who's first? I mean, it's kind of weird because after everything, Eddie's just like, oh, back there, we forgot to take a left. Either way, the next and final scene that takes place while they're kids is something that they do to be together. Because, like, they slice their hands open and hold their hands and swear to come back to Derry if the monster comes back. Which is like, wow, they're together even more than ever. Oh, wait, didn't they just smash in the sewer? What was the point of that then? There's also this dumb fucking part where sex is compared to the monster they just defeated. Yeah, wow, that's something. That's really smart. So after being called out about a sewer sex scene that involves children, Stephen King's latest official response as of 2013 is this: I wasn't really thinking of the sexual aspect of it. Now that was from a forum on StephenKing.com. More recently, according to Vulture.com, this is what he said about that statement. You're not sure of what? Stephen, you wrote a book about children being murdered. That's the whole point. When someone thinks of Pennywise, the iconic clown character from your book, they think of kids being murdered. So why are they going to have a problem with kids being murdered in a book about kids being murdered? I wasn't really thinking of the sexual aspect of it. Yeah, I bet you weren't thinking about the sexual aspect of these either. Stephen King's writing is very digestible and easy to comprehend. Anybody with enough dedication can read this novel. This has been Kaboose. Thanks for watching. Wait a minute. The heck was that? I heard him out here somewhere. I heard him. Stephen, you want to talk about your dumb book? Everybody says that's good. It's not good, Stephen. Where are you? There's only one thing I can do to bring him out. To draw out the king. I regret saying the king. I've been waiting to do this forever now. I'm taking the plastic off because burning plastic's bad for the environment. I read so. This is my totally ruined. Yes, ruined. I spent like $14 on this, but regardless, this is my totally highlighted. I read through this. I spent time in this, and it's all about to end. It's all about to end. Yeah. This pretentious piece of shit. Says that he's like close to it. He uses one of his characters to be like, oh, this is a tale like Lovecraft, Ray Bradbury, and Edgar Allan Poe, and it's not. Stephen King's just a commercial author, okay? He writes books to sell books. He doesn't write books for longevity, okay? He's a freaking hack. He's a fraud, and that's why we're gonna teach him a lesson, cause I bought his book and I'm about to burn his book. I'm very conflicted right now. So what did you learn from burning a Stephen King book?
It's rough because they're super fucking long.
You're super thick. That's what they are. There's a part in the book where the losers go into a smoke hole to have a hallucination, like the Native Americans, and the last two who remain are Mike and Richie, and they have a combined hallucination about how the space monster came to Earth, and it was in the before anything happened, back in prehistoric times, and it was dumb. It didn't need to be in the book because
I was about to say, that sounds fucking stupid.
It was never brought up again.
Did you ever think your life would lead to a book burning?
One day. Am I falling off?
Yeah.
I can't wait to go somewhere and smell like straight up smoke. Book smoke. Well, it used to be a big book.
Now it's just a big pile of ash. Do you feel better?
I feel really good now. Wait a second.
I heard you were burning my book. How could you?
Oh yeah, Stephen King, you wanna keep crying about it? I'll burn you too.
That was a masterpiece.
What are you gonna do? You gonna fight me or something?
You burnt my book to summon me. You want like my autograph or something?
Actually, I got another book of yours inside. Let me go get it. Wait out here, Mr. Stephen King.
We're not really coming out, are we?
I'm gonna teach this motherfucker a lesson.
Okay.
We're in some deep trouble now, because Stephen King wants a refund.
And a rematch.
Rematch? Why? Because I beat him so bad in the review?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Come on, Stephen King is the best author.
What do you mean? He's a big floating head in the backyard.
Yeah.
How is he gonna write books if he doesn't have hands? Come on, I haven't worn my trench coat in so long.
Looks like it's time to go king hunting.
I can't think of a better one-liner.
Just say this is gonna be regicide.
No, what's that mean? I don't know what that means. It's gotta. I don't know.
It means killing a king.
It's time to take out the king. He's still waiting for me to bring out my book. All right, Stephen King. It's time to just.
I think you're falling off.
I think I am falling off.
Man, don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot me! Man. Please don't kill me. I have more books to write.
More books to write? Well, why don't you write a book about this?
Man. Man.
Looks like Stephen King is dead. Well, it's a good thing that I went to that used bookstore and got a version of Stephen King's It that can fit on the bad shelf. Yeah, I had another version of it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Oh, and by the way, I went out and got the mini-series on DVD. I don't know if you can see that. It's right under Friday the 13th. Yeah, the miniseries is better. The scene where Bill cheats on his wife isn't in it. It's replaced with Ben, trying to kiss Beverly, and it's Pennywise, and he says, "Kiss me, fat boy." And it's pretty funny. I don't know. It's way better than the book, actually. Way better. And anybody who says it's not, it's just like, I don't know. You might want to read the book again. Yeah.